Sun Tzu reminds us through wisdom that has traveled across centuries, true victory is not won on battlefields stained with blood, but within the silent and deep corridors of the mind. Most people search for power in the wrong places, in shouting, in aggression, in brute force. Yet such approaches only create surface-level impact and are often temporary. Real power lies in seeing the unseen, anticipating a move before it is made, and shaping the game in your favor from the very beginning.
The teachings of Sun Tzu are not limited to warfare. They are universal strategies that apply to every aspect of life. In business, in social dynamics, and in any competitive environment, the same principle holds true. The greatest victory is the one achieved without fighting. Open conflict often leads to losses on both sides, but mastery lies in ending the conflict before it even begins, neutralizing the opponent without them realizing it, and quietly determining the outcome.
A true strategist is not merely someone strong, but someone who understands timing, exercises patience, and acts at the precise moment. They do not attack without understanding their opponent. Instead, they analyze, identify weaknesses, and establish psychological dominance. Because the fate of any battle is decided long before swords ever clash. Once mental superiority is achieved, physical confrontation often becomes unnecessary. As we open the dusty pages of the art of war today, we are in fact rewriting the strategy of our own lives. Every decision, every move we make leads us either into visible conflict or toward an invisible victory. The real question is this: do you want to win through noise or through silent mastery? What we call the invisible victory is the ability to create a field of control that others cannot perceive. While your opponents believe the game has just begun, you have already decided its outcome. This is not achieved through force alone, but through intelligence, patience, and a deeply strategic mindset. Now is the time to follow this ancient wisdom and discover how to make your opponent submit without ever drawing a sword, in life, in business, and in every competitive arena. Because true mastery is not about fighting, it is about making the fight unnecessary.
Sun Tzu's first law is harsh, clear, and undeniable. All warfare is based on deception. At first glance, this may seem simple, yet it carries a profound strategic truth. War is not merely a physical clash, it is a collision of perceptions, expectations, and minds. If you are strong, appear weak, because the moment your opponent underestimates you, they become vulnerable. If you are far away, convince the enemy that you are near, because fear and uncertainty are among the most powerful weapons. Strategy is not just about knowing what to do. True mastery lies in controlling what others know, what they think they know, and what they believe. Perception often outweighs reality, because people act not on truth, but on what they perceive to be true. This is why, for a true strategist, managing perception is just as important as possessing knowledge. A well-crafted illusion, introduced at the right moment, can be more powerful than the strongest army.
Deception is not mere trickery. It is deliberate and calculated influence. It is the art of entering your opponent's thought process and shaping their decisions without their awareness. Every time your opponent misreads you, you gain an advantage. While they act on false assumptions, you remain the only one aligned with reality. This gives you control over the game itself. Mastering the mind is the most critical phase of any conflict. If you plant doubt in your opponent's mind, you weaken their decision-making ability. If you give them a false sense of confidence, they lower their guard. And if you shape their perception in your favor, you begin to control their actions indirectly. At this point, the battle is no longer physical. It becomes entirely psychological.
When you control how others perceive you, you effectively end the war before it even begins. Your opponent operates within the reality you have constructed, unknowingly limiting their own freedom of action. They are no longer following their own strategy, but an illusion defined by you. Wearing a mask in this sense is not deception born of weakness, it is an art of survival. In a world where everything is exposed, the one who can conceal themselves holds the advantage. The unseen is always more dangerous. The one who can hide their true strength and reveal it at the perfect moment determines the outcome of the game. Remember, the greatest victories often come when it seems like nothing is happening, yet everything is under control. Deception is not just about misleading the opponent, it is about constructing a new reality within their mind, and that reality often proves far more powerful than brute force.
Sun Tzu states, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." This principle reveals one of the most fundamental yet often overlooked truths of strategy. Most people focus solely on their own abilities, their own plans, and their own strengths. However, true mastery lies not only in understanding oneself, but in deeply analyzing the opponent, their weaknesses, fears, desires, and limits. Knowing yourself means being aware of your strength, but knowing your enemy means seeing the entire game. Any move made without understanding how your opponent thinks, reacts, or loses control is incomplete. Because lack of knowledge creates chaos, and chaos, for those who cannot control it, is destruction, but for those who can, it is opportunity. The path to mastering chaos lies in mastering knowledge. The more you know, the fewer surprises you face. The fewer the surprises, the greater your control. A true strategist minimizes the unknown, manages uncertainty, and anticipates every possibility. Because battles are not won on the battlefield, they are won in preparation. Your opponent's weaknesses are often hidden within their greatest strengths. Anger is a powerful but unstable force. When directed properly, it can push your opponent into mistakes. By provoking them, you can exhaust their patience and force them to act without thinking. Pride, however, is even more dangerous. It blinds. An overconfident opponent underestimates threats and lowers their guard. That moment becomes the perfect opportunity for a decisive move. Knowledge is not just about gathering information, it is about using the right information at the right time. Understanding not only what your opponent does, but why they do it, allows you to predict their future actions. This gives you not just the ability to react, but the power to control the game proactively.
Patience is the quietest yet most destructive weapon in this game. Those who rush lose. Those who wait, observe, and strike at the right moment win. Patience allows time to work in your favor. Waiting for your opponent to make a mistake is often the most effective strategy, because under pressure, anger, or pride, people inevitably make poor decisions. In the end, knowledge and chaos are not opposing forces, they complement each other. To control chaos, one must first possess knowledge. The one who knows both the enemy and themselves does not merely fight, they control the battle. And the one who controls the battle ultimately determines.
Sun Tzu describes the nature of war through a powerful metaphor. The form of warfare is like water. Water does not confront obstacles directly, it flows around them, seeks the weakest point, and advances patiently. At first glance, it appears soft and harmless, yet over time it can erode, pierce, and reshape even the hardest rock. This is the essence of true strategy, not relying on brute force, but using adaptability to find the most effective path and waiting for the perfect moment to act. Many people associate strength with rigidity. They believe that fixed plans, stubborn persistence, and unchanging structures lead to success. In reality, this is the clearest sign of fragility. Anything that cannot adapt to changing conditions, no matter how strong it appears, will eventually break. History is filled with those who failed because they could not change, could not adapt, and could not evolve with new circumstances.
A true strategist does not cling to a fixed form. Instead, they adapt to their environment, just like water. They take the shape of whatever contains them, adjust their flow depending on the terrain, and always find the path of least resistance. This is not weakness, it is the highest form of control. Because the flexible individual does not merely react to circumstances, they reshape them to their advantage. Flexibility is not just movement, it is the ability to change direction at the right moment. Recognizing when a plan no longer works, abandoning it without hesitation, and creating a new strategy is true mastery. The rigid break, but the flexible survive and eventually dominate. Therefore, instead of fearing change, one must learn to use it as an advantage. Water finds the smallest crack and moves through it. This reflects a fundamental strategic truth. Every system, every individual, and every structure has a weak point. Instead of attacking the strongest point directly, finding and exploiting that weakness is the most effective approach, because even the smallest opening, when used correctly, can lead to the greatest breakthrough.
The strongest defense is often the one that is invisible. If you leave no clear target for your opponent to strike, their attacks become ineffective. A constantly shifting, unpredictable presence cannot be easily attacked. Sometimes the greatest power lies in not being seen and not being predictable. In the end, being like water is not just a metaphor, it is a way of thinking and living. Flow, adapt, remain patient, and wait for the right moment. Rigidity is temporary, but flexibility endures. And in the long run, those who adapt are the ones who truly rule.
Sun Tzu's teachings ultimately reveal this truth. The sword is always the last resort, because the real battle is won or lost in the mind. Physical force, noise, and sudden aggression may create temporary dominance, but lasting victory is achieved only through intelligence, patience, and strategic awareness. Intelligence is not merely a tool, it is the force that shapes direction, defines outcomes, and determines destiny. The one who chooses their own battles has already won the greatest war. Not every conflict must be fought. Some are best ended before they begin. Knowing where to stand, when to retreat, and when to advance are the defining qualities of a true ruler. Control is not only about action, it is also about restraint. A person who turns their mind into an unshakable fortress is untouched by the chaos of the outside world. Their strength does not come from external conditions, but from inner balance. One who can manage their fears, control their desires, and discipline their thoughts cannot be controlled by others. because the most dangerous weakness does not come from outside, it comes from within. True mastery is not about winning wars, it is about making them unnecessary. The highest level of control is the ability to eliminate conflict altogether. You do not always need to attack to defeat your opponents. Sometimes, the greatest victory is positioning yourself where you cannot be attacked at all.
Remember, the world is not ruled by force alone, but by intelligence, perception, and strategy. The one who masters their mind masters their life. If you cannot control your mind, others' thoughts, expectations, and influences will control you. This is ancient strategy. Here, the goal is not merely to be powerful, but to gain power through wisdom. If you want to walk this path, to consciously shape your life and become a master of invisible victories, take your place in this journey. Subscribe to walk with the power of wisdom. Stay strategic.